Welcome to the John Clampa Show, episode 9. I got my week 10 picks and previews ready for you. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First game I'm picking is Penn State at number 1 Ohio State. This game is not what we expected it to be coming into the season. This was supposed to be a top 5 matchup to kick off November. It has not played out that way. Ohio State is undefeated, ranked number 1 in the country. Penn State is 3-4. Started the season in the top 3. I think they were number 2. And their season has just completely fell apart. James Franklin's been fired, as I've mentioned before, and it's just doesn't have the luster that everyone thought it was going to have coming into the season. That being said, I feel like it's going to be a really goofy game. What I mean by that, Ohio State's at home, undefeated, probably the most talented roster in the country. Penn State, with their season falling apart and their coach being fired, they don't really have anything to play for. They don't have a whole lot left to lose. And they still have one of the most talented rosters from that perspective in the entire country, even though it hasn't really shown up on the field. So Penn State's going to come out, play really loose. They're going to throw a whole lot of tricks at Ohio State, see if they can't get anything going. And I think that Penn State is going to keep it close and competitive for a while and make Ohio State a bit nervous. There's also the storyline from Jim Knowles, who was the D coordinator at Ohio State last year, is now the defensive coordinator at Penn State. So Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, Ohio State offense is going to be really familiar with Knowles' scheme on defense, what his tendencies are, and how they can attack them to put some points on the board for the Ohio State offense. And Knowles is going to be really familiar with what Ohio State likes to do offensively, what Ryan Day wants to do, tendencies of the players, all that. So he's going to have an idea of how to scheme up and prevent Ohio State from scoring. So with all that being said, it's going to be really goofy. Penn State's going to put it all out there. Going to throw trick plays, just a whole bunch of stuff at Ohio State. And I think they're going to keep it close, keep it competitive. But eventually, I just think in the fourth quarter, Ohio State's talent is going to take over and they're going to pull away and win more comfortably than the game uh, was all the way up to that point. I think the final score is going to be 31-20 Ohio State, which would mean Penn State covers the spread, but Ohio State still gets the double-digit win. Next game I'm picking is number 9 Vanderbilt at number 20 Texas. Texas coming off 2 straight overtime wins over mediocre opponents in Kentucky and Mississippi State. First one at Kentucky was a very low scoring affair. They won 16-13. And then the next week at Mississippi State, a lot different. It was way more high scoring. They overcame a fourth quarter deficit and ended up winning 45-38 in overtime. Arch Manning is questionable coming into the game. Backup Matthew Caldwell played really well. In his absence, showed that he has the talent to sling it out there. Vanderbilt is coming off of that win over Missouri, 17-10. I don't think this matchup is great for Vanderbilt. Texas finally gets to come home. They're going to be excited to play at home in front of their home crowd. Mississippi State put up 38 points on Texas defense, but that was because Mississippi State is more of an air raid offense, and they matched up well with Texas defense. The strength of the Texas defense is the front seven. They're really good at stopping the run, playing physical up front. Their weaker part is the secondary, and Mississippi State was able to exploit that. Vanderbilt's offense is very different from Mississippi State. They're very run heavy, and they rely a lot on Diego Pavia's improvisational skills. I don't think that is going to match up well with this strong Texas run defense and the athletes that Texas has to counteract the improv from Diego Pavia. I think Texas is going to do to Vanderbilt similarly to what they did to Oklahoma. And I think they're going to expose Vanderbilt a little bit this weekend and prove that Vanderbilt isn't quite there yet. And I have the Longhorns winning this game 24-16 over the Commodores. Next one I'm picking is number 10 Miami at SMU. This is the first game that Miami is playing outside of the state of Florida this season, and it comes in November. That's impressive scheduling from Miami, first off, to be able to pull that off. Second, will the weather have an impact in this game? It's supposed to be like mid 50s, overcast, a little bit chillier than what Miami might be used to playing in at this point, but it is still in Texas, so it's not going to be cold. SMU has a really good offense. They haven't, as a team, haven't performed like they would have hoped to this year. They're still a really good team, have a winning record, and they can present Miami some problems. Overall, I think Miami's team talent in general is just too much for SMU. I think SMU might keep it competitive for a quarter and a half, but eventually Miami's just going to pull away. And I have the Hurricanes winning their first game outside of the state of Florida, 38-23 over the Mustangs. Next game is the neutral site matchup between Georgia and Florida. Georgia has done this thing where they get down by 2 scores, multiple scores, and then they come back somehow and just win the game. They've done it. They did it against Auburn. They were down by 10, ended up winning 20-10. They did it versus Ole Miss. They got down by 9 early in the second half, but came back to win in the fourth quarter 42-35. Against Alabama, they got down by double digits early, came to within 3 points, ended up losing that game 24-21. And they got down early against Tennessee by multiple scores in Knoxville, ended up coming back to win that game in overtime. So Georgia is a really good football team who gets off to slow starts, but somehow finds a way to win in the end or give themselves a chance to win at the end of the game. They've been flirting with disaster all year. This is the game I think it bites them. Florida has talent. They fired their coach. Very similar situation to Penn State. They didn't have quite the same expectations coming into the year, but they were expected to be a solid team with the talent they had. And it hasn't really come to fruition that way. Coach been fired. I think Florida is going to come out and play loose. They don't have anything to lose, so they're going to throw in some trick plays. It's a rivalry game, which is always a always provides a recipe for a competitive game, regardless of record. And Florida has the athletes to beat Georgia, and I think that Georgia's style of play, in terms of starting slow and having to work their way back into the game, is going to come back to bite them in this one. And I think Florida's going to pull out the victory in the neutral site game over the Bulldogs, 30-27. And Georgia's going to be they're going to have to respond after this loss because their schedule doesn't get easier after this. They still have to play Georgia Tech and Texas. So this is a must-win for Georgia, but I don't see it happening. I think Florida gets the upset. Next game I have is number 23 USC at Nebraska. This is a game that I think can mark a turning point in Lincoln Riley's career at USC. If Lincoln Riley wants to prove he's real at USC, he'll win this game. This is a game that elite teams will go in and win. They're coming off of a bye week after a loss to a rival, Notre Dame. Before that, they handled Michigan with ease. Nebraska is 6-2, very quietly, a pretty good team. They struggled to stop the run this year. USC in their last 2 games dominated Michigan running the ball and then got dominated at the line of scrimmage by Notre Dame, and that's why they lost. If Lincoln Riley wants to prove that USC is headed in the right direction and that he can hit a turning point with the Trojans, this is a game that USC is going to go in there into Lincoln, Nebraska, and beat a feisty Cornhuskers team. They have the talent to do it. Lincoln Riley just has to put his players in the position to execute and go in there and get a program-defining win for the Trojans. I think he does do that, and I think USC is able to mark this as a prove-it moment for the program that they're going to be real and they're going to compete in the Big Ten. And I have the Trojans winning 38-24. Next game I'm picking is number 18 Oklahoma at number 14 Tennessee. Tennessee's offense is really good. Tennessee's defense is really bad. Oklahoma's defense is pretty good. Oklahoma's offense is not very good. So you have strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness in this matchup. It's in Knoxville, which is a really tough place to play. Tennessee's going to have some big-time home field advantage here. I think that Oklahoma's offense will be able to put up some points on Tennessee's defense, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Tennessee's offense. Oklahoma's defense is going to have to play really good for Oklahoma to win this game, and I think they'll play solid, but Tennessee puts up points on everyone, and it's going to be difficult for Oklahoma's offense to keep up with Tennessee in this matchup, and I think Tennessee is going to get the win 40-27 over the Sooners. Final game I'm picking is number 17 Cincinnati at number 24 Utah. College Game Day is going to be on the ground in Utah for this one. Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback for Cincinnati, very quietly having a really good year. He's second in the country in total touchdowns with 26. Cincinnati only has the one loss in week 1 to Nebraska, and since then they've rolled through Big 12 play and been able to put up points with ease. Utah has 2 losses, one to Texas Tech and one to BYU. So they have 2 Big 12 losses, but those are not bad losses. Texas Tech and BYU are both top 15 teams, could both end up being in the playoff at the end of the year. Utah leads the Power 4 in rushing at over 260 yards per game. I think the home field advantage here, coupled with Utah's ground and pound, ball control, physical style of offense, is going to be able to beat Cincinnati up front, and it's going to be able to keep the ball out of Brendan Sorsby's hands enough for them to pull out a victory. Cincinnati's going to score when they have the ball, but they won't have the ball enough because Utah is going to dominate the time of possession battle, I think, and they might get a turnover. As long as they don't commit any turnovers, they should win this game, and I think that's what is going to happen. And I have Utah winning this top 25 Big 12 matchup 30-23 at home and handing Cincinnati their second loss of the season. That's all I've got for Week 10 picks and previews. Be sure to let me know what you think is going to happen this weekend in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other content, and happy Halloween. I'll see you guys next time on the John Clamper Show.